Have you ever really stopped and looked at the cash in your wallet? I mean, really thought about what it is and where its value comes from? What if the entire financial system we rely on was designed in a way we don't quite understand? Today, we're jumping headfirst into some pretty wild and controversial ideas, all pulled from the book Currency Wars. This book paints a picture of global finance as a battlefield, and more importantly, it claims to offer some critical survival lessons for the rest of us caught in the middle. To give you a taste of where this is all going, the book kicks off with this incredibly bold quote. It's attributed to the patriarch of the famous Rothschild banking dynasty. And really, this one sentence sets the entire stage for the book's main idea, that true power isn't about making laws, it's about controlling the money itself. So, if it's not the presidents or the prime ministers pulling the strings, then who is? Well, the book suggests there's a whole other level of power, a group so wealthy that public figures like Bill Gates wouldn't even come close. Here's the first major claim the book makes. You will never find the world's richest people on a Forbes list. The author uses the Rothschild family as the key example, a dynasty that, according to the book, has had immense influence on banking for centuries, but has stayed mostly out of the public eye. And their power, the book argues, comes from that very secrecy. To put a number on it, the book throws out this absolutely staggering estimate for the Rothschild family's wealth, $500 trillion. Now, let's be clear, the author presents this as a dramatic estimate. It's meant to make you think about a scale of wealth that operates on a completely different planet from what we normally talk about. So, how could anyone possibly get that rich? Well, the book offers a story from history. Let's go back to 1815, the Battle of Waterloo. We all know it as this huge military clash between Napoleon and Wellington. But according to Currency Wars, there was another war being fought that day, a financial one. And the people with the best information were about to win it all. The book argues that the family's success wasn't about luck. Not at all. It was a system. They had allegedly built their own private intelligence network across Europe that was way faster and more efficient than any government's. This meant, according to the author, they always knew what was happening before anyone else. And here's the killer move, as described in the book. Nathan Rothschild, stationed in London, gets the news that Napoleon lost a full day before the British government does. He supposedly uses this information advantage to cause a panic on the London Stock Exchange. He makes it look like Britain lost. And in the chaos, as everyone is selling, he's buying up everything for pennies on the dollar. When the real news finally arrives, his fortune has exploded. Now, according to the author, the Waterloo story wasn't just a one-time trick. It was actually an early version of a repeatable playbook for extracting wealth from entire nations. The book gives it a very memorable name, Shearing the Sheep. And the author argues that for any investor, understanding this alleged pattern is the absolute first step to protecting yourself. So what exactly does shearing the sheep mean? Well, it's a metaphor for a very deliberate cycle. First, you fatten up the sheep. That's the general public and the economy, by making it feel like boom times with lots of easy credit. Then, right when things are at their peak, you shear them by pulling the plug, causing a collapse, and then you swoop in and buy up all their valuable assets for cheap. The book breaks it down into a pretty simple 4-step process. Step 1, make money really cheap and easy to get. Step 2, sit back and watch as an asset bubble forms. Everyone's buying stocks, real estate, you name it. Step 3, and this is the crucial part. Suddenly, you tighten credit, making money hard to get. The bubble bursts. And then, step 4, the people who caused the crash can now buy up everything valuable at a massive discount. The book's big idea is that once you see this 4-step blueprint, you can't unsee it. The author argues that you can see its shadow all throughout financial history, presenting several major crises as proof. The author points to a whole series of financial panics and crashes, from the 1800s all the way to the 2007 crisis. And the argument is that these events, while they all look different on the surface, were not random accidents. They all followed that same basic script: easy money, a speculative bubble, a sudden credit crunch, and then a huge transfer of wealth. Okay, to bring this down from the big history lesson to something more concrete, the book takes a close look at a modern example: the boom and bust of the Vietnamese stock market back in 2006 and 2007. According to the book's analysis, this case follows the blueprint perfectly. You have a massive flood of foreign money, $10 billion, which creates a huge bubble. This causes inflation to spike, which forces the government to tighten the money supply. And right at that moment, the foreign capital pulls out,
the market crashes and the real estate market just freezes solid.
So, what was the result for local investors? Well, according to the book's analysis, it was a total catastrophe. The estimated loss was over 300 trillion Vietnamese dong. This number is used to show the devastating, real-world consequences for ordinary people, the sheep in this whole metaphor.
Okay, so if this is the dangerous game the book describes, how on earth do you avoid being a victim? The last part of the book shifts from explaining the problem to offering a solution, or at least what the author sees as a defensive strategy for the individual investor. The core survival lesson in the book really comes down to understanding the difference between two types of money. On one side, you have what we use every day, fiat money. The book argues that because it's based on debt and can be printed endlessly, it's designed to lose value over time. On the other side is what the author calls real money, tangible things with a finite supply, like gold and silver, which you can't just print out of thin air.
This quote from Robert Kiyosaki, the author of Rich Dad, Poor Dad, is cited in the book, and it perfectly sums up the recommended mindset. Go ahead, enjoy the party when the economy is booming, but always be aware that it could end in a flash. You need to know where your exit is before the music stops. And that leads us to the book's ultimate piece of advice. It argues that in this kind of system, the only real escape hatch for your wealth is to move it out of paper assets, which are part of the debt system, and into hard physical assets. The author's view is that throughout all of history, gold and silver have been the ultimate protection against this kind of collapse.
And so that leaves us with the final big question that this whole book is really trying to ask you. Now, whether you agree with these dramatic theories or not, it forces you to stop and think about your own strategy. When the good times eventually turn bad, what's your plan to protect what you've worked for? What's your escape hatch?